Hey everybody, this is Dennis Pretorius Holmgren, former guest of Tech Immigrants and now host of Tech Immigrants, here to present another live webinar to you. Today it is my pleasure to introduce to you Conny Nordlund, who is a freelance animator who specializes in 2D animation and art for various projects. He's also the co-founder of Pixadome, where he used to manage teams, art, animation, and game design. With skills in visual design, traditional animation, art direction, and project management, Conny excels in both creativity and entrepreneurship in the indie game development scene and freelancing scene. So please welcome Conny Nordlund.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very flattering introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome to the webinar, man. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice seeing you. We talked earlier, and me and Dennis is actually from the same like art forums and stuff from like up and coming together. So it's fun to talk to you again and like doing this thing live and share some information and stuff.
Oh, yeah. We're basically twins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, we come from the same background of being in art forums, trying to make it in the freelancing world. And we've also both gone to the game assembly school in Malmö, where we honed our skill and got into the game industry. So Conny, welcome to this webinar.
Thank you.
I would like you to introduce yourself and provide a brief outline of your career trajectory, if you may.
Yeah, sure. You gave a great introduction already, but I started out like freelancing. I was on the same art forums as you, like conceptart.org when that was around in like 2008 and 9. Prior to that, I was like a little animator on Newgrounds when that was fun and active. It's still around, but it's not as active anymore. So that's sort of like where I started, and I did like freelance design work for like Flash games and mobile games and stuff in the beginning. And then I went to school at the game assembly and for game art. And after that, I got an internship at SharkMob. And later I got employed by them as well. I was their first animator. And so I saw like a big AAA studio grow from being a small indie around like 25 something people when I joined. And then now they have like 2 or 3 studios or something like that. So that was really cool. And during that time, I also started my own company, Pixadome, with my best friend. And within that company, we released 2 games. After the first game, it grew like 2 or 3 times the size. And after I was done with the second game, I went freelance to do like solo projects and work on more like diversify myself onto other things.
Animation. Yeah, so that's basically a brief outline. So to those who don't know, SharkMob is one of the biggest gaming studios in Malmö, if I'm not mistaken. And when you were graduating game assembly, they were basically just getting started.
Yeah, I remember like the first studio was like a studio apartment. It got so warm in there in the winters. Like we had to have like the radiators super close during the winters because it like got really cold. And in summers it was like super hot in there, and we were really crowded. But I really love that energy as well because it's like when you're up and coming together and you can actually shout at each other across the room with directors and stuff, it becomes kind of like a fun culture, and I just enjoy that energy,
Yeah. Like the energy of a small studio. It's like, everybody who works there. It's like really personal, and it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun when it gets bigger as well, but there's just something about the small studios, the indie game scene, like the personal stuff.
Yeah, and also you it's easier to communicate. You don't have to filter so much through like hierarchies because the information travels so easily. You can actually like just walk over to like a director and like talk about an idea and have that. Like I still think like a director talking to them in like a big AAA setting is still possible, but having like an idea considered more like thoroughly, it's much easier when you're like a smaller company because you don't have to like filter through a bunch of people. So I enjoy that a lot more because it's more like versatile, in my opinion. I've done a lot of different like size studios now, and I do prefer like a cap on like between like 10 and 5 people. I feel like it's like my own ballpark that I enjoy the most. And nowadays, like I'm either doing stuff solo or like around like a 3 to 5 people, and I kind of like that. I'm a very much a self-driven person. I take a lot of huge like risks by myself and stuff, and I tend to get bored if things become too like systematic, you know.
Got it. So it's like you always need a new challenge, and you prefer to keep it to the small studios in your freelance careers. Yeah.
I like the feeling of like having a lot of responsibility on myself, and that my own decisions and my own like self growth is like dependent on my career as well. That's why I enjoy being a freelancer, because I have to constantly improve, and if I don't improve, I don't get clients, and I need to like constantly put out work so that I attract people. When you're in a studio, you don't have to like consistently put out like content or whatever. You still need to improve because you want to improve inside a company, obviously, but like it's not the same sort of like you need to like update the world about what you're doing, you know. But I enjoy that stuff. So
No, exactly. Of course not. Like you always wanna, grow in a company as well. Like you have to grow from junior to intermediate to senior.
yeah.
But, so as a freelance animator, you worked on a variety of game projects. Could you share some insight into your daily work routine and the diverse tasks and responsibilities that come with freelancing in the game industry?
Yeah. I think my day-to-day work is pretty similar to anyone who works full-time. Like I get up at 7 sometime and like I roll out of my I sleep in like this loft bed over there. So I like fall down the stairs. No, but I go down there and I like have my breakfast and whatever, and then start working, walk my dog. And I work from like 8 to 5 or something. And then usually like in the morning I check all my like messages and stuff. Usually I have like more than one client at the time, so depending on deadlines or if they have like something urgent, like I check all that stuff in the morning to see like there's nothing on fire, and if nothing is on fire, then I start on whatever is pressing at the time. So currently I'm working on a game called Big Boy Boxing, and it's a super punch out inspired like hand-drawn game. So I do like a lot of like rough animation, like a hand draw. I have like this drawing tablet down here that I draw on, that I do all my animations on. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do for them. And I also do like cutscene stuff and like storyboarding. And recently I started collaborating with a YouTuber called Meat Canyon, and I do storyboards for him. So sometimes he sends over like a script, and then I read through that and do some storyboards for him. But that's pretty much like my day is like pretty basic, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. It's like you still have some kind of routine, like a regular work day, I would say.
Yeah, it's very important to keep routines. I feel like it's very easy when you're a freelancer to fall into the trap of like walking around in really super comfy clothing, and like you get up really late and you work really late. But I feel like you get a better pace having routines, and I feel like working on your self-discipline is really important, because because I'm my own boss, right? And I can't just like give myself a pass because I'm lazy or whatever. So I try to keep myself really in line with my routines, and I don't I don't sit by this computer when I don't have work. Like if I don't work on anything like personal projects or like work, I tend not to sit by the computer. I draw like on paper or something, just so that I clearly separate my personal life from work life. And this little cubicle I have over here is only like my workspace. I don't sit here otherwise.
I got it. So you still try to keep a bit of a distance between your personal life and your work life, so you don't spend 24/7 at the same spot.
Yeah, I made that mistake in the beginning when I started doing freelance. It's like just living in the same space, and that works for like a year or something for me at least. And then I start feeling like kind of crazy because you don't see anything else around you, you know. But
I
I still
got
try
it.
to make it as cozy and cozy and like inspiring at the same time. Like I have stuff
Yeah,
all over the place, and on this
yeah,
wall
yeah. I can see.
over here I have like 1 trillion drawings from other
Wow,
artists.
wow.
Uh,
It's like an art gallery.
yeah, all over the place. I have stuff to inspire me. So I really love my workplace, but I try not to sit here like all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to live there. No, that's for sure. So this brings me into my next question. You know, you've been involved in both indie game development, like you co-founded Pixadome, you've been a freelancer. So how have you balanced the entrepreneurial aspects of game development with your creative work? And what advice can you offer to individuals aspiring to start their own gaming ventures in Sweden?
Hmm. Well, I feel that depending on who you ask, they're going to give like different answers. So, but in my case, I'm very much like a creative guy, and I kind of value that more than the business side of things
Yeah,
because I feel that what I'm creating is like a visual experience and an interactive experience. And so I try my best to make work that I feel that is important to create and that is actually being honest and that I'm actually saying something with it. It doesn't have to mean like it needs to be something really deep and like impactful or whatever, political or anything, but it needs to be like honest. It needs to be something I'm excited about. It needs to be something I want to put out into the world first and foremost. So like that's the thing. Number one thing is like you need to figure out like is what you're making, does it matter to you? Because if you start thinking about business first, then you're like creating a business before you create a product. And so like your creativity becomes kind of the product in the end. So I try to focus my most of my focus on that. um, but once you start having something and start producing like an actual product, like a game or something, it's really important to consistently show your work off. Either if you decide to go to like the public route of like posting it online or whatever, you can do that, or you can keep it semi-private and like go to conventions and like conferences and stuff and like start talking to other companies and like see if you can find like a partner to work with. But it's also really good to go to conferences even if you don't intend of like partnering with anyone. You just like to talk to people because it's good practice to be in that space and feel out like how things work and like how you should like compose yourself in front of like a business person, how you should talk to them, go to seminars and talks and learn about like how are you even supposed to talk to these people. And
yeah,
you can listen to like a million YouTube tutorials about like how to be a well-spoken person or whatever, but the best practice is just like going out and like talking to people.
oh
And
yeah,
it's really intimidating if you haven't done it before. If that's not in your blood, like I'm an introvert and I tend to like to be at home drawing and doing things, so you have to like I had to like really build that up, and the only way to do that is to like put yourself in those situations. um but yeah, but in the end of the day, you have to balance both of these things. But I feel like personally, the product and your creativity and what you're making goes before you start thinking about the business. Because if people don't really connect with what you're making, there's no business to build, you know. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great. And I have one question. How do you find your clients? Like through like what kind of websites? Like how do you meet actually like people?
They actually find me right now. It's weird because when I started freelancing in the beginning, I didn't get a lot of clients, mostly because, well, for one, I was pretty new and wasn't that good at what I was doing, and also didn't really know what I was doing, like what
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do. And because I was confused, no client's gonna find you, because if you don't know exactly what you want to do, then it's hard to find a client. But after working in like studios and building my own companies and stuff, and talking to a lot of people and going to these conferences and finding contacts over time, that accumulates into like this web of people. So you can like pull one string and there's a sense of vibration into your network, and then people talk about you, and it's sort of like you send out vibrations to people all the time. And that's the only way to build that, is like over time, talk to a lot of people, be cool with others, like share, don't be afraid to give away information, like see this
Mm-hmm.
as like you're trying to find like partnerships with people and relations. And the only way to nurture that is like over time, just like keep on going with it, and eventually you'll find people. But I've never really found clients. Like I never really looked for clients. It sounds pretty privileged, but it's like in the beginning it was super hard. I didn't get a lot of work. It was super tough. But now it's easier. And it's strange because most people reach out to me on like Twitter, actually. And
Oh.
and it's funny because even on LinkedIn, I got like today I had a meeting. They reached out to me on LinkedIn, but they were like, "Can we talk on Discord instead?" Because no one wants to talk on LinkedIn. So it's usually like Discord or Twitter, but Twitter is like mainly my
Oh.
my hub. And I also put a lot of my stuff up on Newgrounds because my work kind of vibe with that audience, and so that audience amplify what I do on other social media sites. And that's also important to, like, when you put out your work, think about where are you posting this. So if I, like on Newgrounds, there's a lot of teenagers there, and I love making like edgy sort of stuff. Like you can see like in my apartment, like how what I like, and it's very like edgy, and I really love that. I've always done that, and I know that Newgrounds have a lot of that kind of audience, so I post a lot of stuff there, and that amplifies to which people my stuff gets shared to. You need to think about it like that as well.
I see. Yeah, and I think Dennis has a question about
Yeah.
this pic.
First I have to say that I can totally see the Newgrounds influence in your work. It's
Thank you.
really awesome.
That's
Yeah.
a fantastic compliment, I feel like.
Yeah. For someone in my generation, we immediately spot it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like late 80s, yeah. So my question is basically, you mentioned before that for you, one of the most important aspects is that you vibe with the work or that you like the work itself.
Hmm.
Would you suggest a new freelancer to try to find this kind of work as in order to not burn out on freelance, like instead of just going with what pays?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a really good pointer. And actually, it makes me think of my own process overall, because I've been like, if you look on my like resume and my website or whatever, what type of stuff I've been doing, and or if you followed me for a while, like you have, uh, you'll notice that I've done like so many different things, and I learned like a trillion different programs, and I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning or what I wanted to make. And so when clients found me in the beginning, they didn't really know what I wanted to do either. And finding like finding out, like trying a lot of things and finding out what you enjoy is like the most important thing, I feel like. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. Because the whole thing about like being a freelancer or an artist in general is like you don't want to end up at a job, just doing a job, because it's gonna just any exciting thing that you find is not gonna stay that exciting forever. Every job becomes a job eventually. Like, it doesn't matter who you work for. You could work at Nintendo, and eventually that job is gonna feel like a job. Like, it's gonna feel amazing just because you're there, but it's still gonna feel like a job. And if you do a job that isn't necessarily something you enjoy, you're gonna find out pretty quickly that that's gonna taper off pretty quick. And so it wasn't before I started drawing like more cartoony stuff. When I started my own company, I did a little bit of a mistake going in the cutesy routes. I feel like in retrospect, but it was really more expressive, and I feel like that is more me. There's a lot of humor in it, and it's a lot of like playfulness in it. But over time, I went back into what got me into artwork, and that's like the more edgy things, and still like breathing in that sort of cartooniness into it. And I realized like the Newgrounds thing is something that is in my blood. And when I started leaning into that, I felt like I got a lot more followers on Twitter. People like more of the stuff that I put out. It was like one of the things where I got known for pixel art for a while. And I was kind of scared going into like hand-drawn stuff, because before I went into pixel art and Pixadome, the company and stuff, people didn't really care what I was posting. Like, they didn't care about it. And so I was scared going back into like hand-drawn stuff, because like people are not going to care. But it turns out, because I was like being honest with what I like and I enjoy it myself, that people do enjoy it too. Yeah, and end of the day, like the jobs that you're going to be attracting is stuff that you're going to be excited to make. So, I mean, it feels like pretty natural. But it's hard in the beginning because you don't really know what you like most of the time. You need to find it out, and you need to try things out, and you need to fail, and you need to be open to like make stuff that looks crappy and be cool with that. You know, you're not going to be amazing in the beginning. So.
No, that's true. Yeah, really good answer. So
yeah. I want to read one of the comments. So Sajjad, he's asking, what's your favorite game engine? Unity, Godot, or something else? What's your favorite 3D modeling software? Blender or 3DA, DS, Max, or Maya?
Well, I'm mostly like a 2D guy. I worked in 3D before. When I was at SharkMob. I worked a lot in Motion Builder, because we did a lot of motion capture animation. Before that, I worked a lot in Maya, because my prior school, the Game Assembly, they worked a lot in Maya. Nowadays, Blender is becoming very popular, and I haven't really touched 3D in a long time now. But if I went back into it, I would probably start with Maya again, just because that's something I know already. But I feel like if I had to be in a 3D environment again, I would start with Blender, just because it's free, and also it's starting to become a standard, especially in like smaller teams. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if not already that it's becoming kind of a standard in larger companies as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to game engines, when I make my solo game development, I use GameMaker, honestly. It's a fantastic tool for 2D. I feel like it's very easy to use. But if you want to do like in industry and being hired in studios, I would either do Unity or Unreal. Godot will probably become larger over time. There's a little bit of a problem with Godot in that the porting for consoles isn't really there yet. I know that it's possible, but I think it needs more time to get there, you know? So like if you're heading into this as a profession, I would either pick Unity if you want to work in like semi-large teams, like 20 to 30 people or something. If you want to be in AAA, like Ubisoft and stuff, then go with Unreal, I would say.
I see. Yeah,
Really
thank you.
good answer. Yeah. I actually have something to say about this, that personally, I use Blender on a daily basis in my work at IGT. And I know for a fact that a lot of schools are planning to start teaching Blender in the future.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to school and people were like talking about Blender, we had like teachers saying like, "Oh, that's scandalous. Don't speak about Blender. We're using
Blender.
Maya here.
Yeah.
That's a real program."
Like
so
if you haven't paid, if you haven't paid tens of thousands of dollars for your license, then you're not really a 3D artist.
Yeah, yeah. Do you not like spending money?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody's got money, right? Yeah. So I would say let's move on to the next question.
Yep.
So you pretty much already answered this, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway and see if you have anything more to say. Like the question is basically, how do we build a successful freelance career? And you sort of answered this already, focus on the projects you want to do, like go with your style and so on. But is there anything else you can say? Any other advice you would say to a new freelancer on how to build a successful career?
Yeah, you need to start. I feel especially you need like a good community. You could either try and build one yourself or you can join one. And for me personally, I have like this little group of like artists that I know online. They have like this little chat group. There's a program called Draw Pile. I can write it in chat.
Yes, please do.
Pile. And if you're a 2D person and you have like friends and stuff that also draws and want to get better, maybe do studies and stuff, it's a great, it's like a chat program with like a large drawing canvas where you can draw live together and have like a chat room. It's very nice. It's social, and it's gonna be. I feel like this is not directly like to build your own freelance career, but I just feel like having a community of friends and stuff to talk to and like draw and be motivated by really uplifts your spirits to want to push yourself and be better. And seeing people around you like drawing at the same time as you just motivates you to keep going, because they're drawing and you're like, you can't be slacking off because you're like, they're drawing, I better draw too. And it's a lot of fun and motivating to see progress in your friends. And doing studies together also helps with that fear of failure too, because you're there, like you see like everyone is putting their neck out there, it's scary, but it's very healthy. And that also helps and the reason finally why I say that is because you tear down like the fear factor of it. Yeah. And then when you start posting your own work online, you're not as scared about like feedback and things, maybe because you already have the friends there that's feedbacking your work, and you're constantly showing off what you're doing. So when you start posting online looking for freelance work, you have thicker skin and you have like a little community to talk to. And also once you start getting freelance work, you have friends to like that's doing the same thing, and you can ask them questions like, how are they figuring this thing out? Because I always call my friends and like that are also freelancers and saying like, hey, I have this situation. How did you ever like encounter that? And how did you solve it and stuff? And just like running a business, like having friends, getting to know friends that do stuff like that, or are upcoming business owners, talking about troublesome things and successes and stuff is really good and healthy. So I feel like you guys have a community right here. You guys could like someone in the chat could start like a draw pile server for people to draw in, and maybe like a chat room or something where you can like just talk to each other, because it's really healthy to have that. Yeah.
I should mention that Tech Immigrants has a Telegram channel, and everybody's welcome to join.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with all kinds of discussion about CVs, learning better English, finding a job, where to find accommodation, and so on. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Conny. So I would say the next question is about the Swedish indie game scene. As someone who has experience in the Swedish indie game scene, could you share experience and insights regarding the unique qualities and characteristics of this scene, and how indie game artists in Sweden can thrive within it.
Sorry, I had like an alarm going off. Could you repeat the question?
No problem. So basically, Sweden has a vibrant indie game development scene.
Yes.
As someone who has a lot of experience with indie games in Sweden, could you share your experience and insights regarding the unique qualities and characteristics of this scene, and how a indie game developer can thrive within it?
I feel, especially where I'm from in Malmö, there's a lot of like not only conventions but just like meetups with other companies through a collective called Game Habitat. They're like funded by other larger studios here, and it's a great incentive because they have like just like meet and greets and stuff, and also the schools have the meet and greets for the students, so they get like connections to the industry. So they're like building this, like I said like earlier in the interview, about like building like the web of like when you send out vibrations into the web, you like find clients and stuff. It's the same thing there. It's like Malmö and Sweden have like this little web connection where if you start learning about companies and going to these meetups and conventions and talk to people, you're going to be running into the same people every now and then, and they're going to be introducing you to others. And I feel like that is like the beginnings of any venture. It doesn't have to be indie, could be anything. But with that said, when you start like an indie studio, you should start pitching your game pretty early, I feel like, and keep it small, and then go and like pitch it to like competitions and other like pitching competitions. They have like competitions where you can win tickets to like Gamescom and stuff. I did that with my first game, and I won like third prize on Big Indie Pitch and some other company pitch things, and that took me to a couple different events, because those events can get pretty pricey if you pay for it yourself, and sometimes there's like different companies that want to bring with them other teams, just to like fill out their booths with more games, because they want people to come by and like play the games, and sometimes they have like a spot to spare and they want to bring with them another team. So it's like I would say it's like go to all these events and get to know people, pitch your game whenever you can, like whatever opportunity you can find where you can show off what you're working on, you should just do it. That was our mantra when I started my company, was any and all opportunities where anyone is like, do you want to do this? We just say yes to everything. And we just do it, because why not? I had like this one funny story actually when we were at Gamescom. There was like this thing where companies and studios would joke about like, oh, there's so many translation companies, and that's the only, like, you get like 1 million translation companies wanting to have meetings, right? But we said yes to all those meetings because we were crazy or whatever, right? And so there was like this one woman, she was a translator and she was at this company, and we just like talked to her and we about anything. We didn't really only talk about translation, but like other things as well. And I mean, that meeting didn't really go anywhere, but we had a lot of fun during the meeting. And like a year later, she's like this owner or like a president, like boss person at this other large company, and she took us to the Nordic game conference in Malmö for free because she just liked us, you know. So it's like one of those things where you just like talk to one person and that just leads to something else. And
yeah. So basically, be kind to whoever you meet, because you never know where this person is going to be in a few years.
Yeah.
Like, always be respectful, always be kind, and always try to help people, because the janitor can basically be the next Steve Jobs in 2 years.
Yeah, and whenever there's like an opportunity that opens up, that could be an opportunity, try to say yes to as many things, because when you're starting out, you shouldn't be so choosy about like what opportunity it is, because you never know, that could be like the springboard to something larger as well. Like even if the connections you get there isn't really that important, and never ever leads to anything, that one opportunity could end up with you like connecting with someone else in some other company that likes you and want to do something with you. It's just like, you need to see it like you throw pebbles in a pond, and like the rings expand, and eventually those rings will hit something that matters, and that will create another ripple. And over time, that's going to start building up into waves. And those waves are going to turn into tsunamis eventually if you do it well, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
sort of the attitude I feel like you should have.
Yeah, everybody should keep in mind, the industry is constantly moving, shifting, and evolving.
Yeah.
So you never know where people end up. Like the people who started out a decade or two ago, they are now the CEOs of a lot of companies. So imagine the networking you do today, imagine where that can lead within the next few years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Tech immigrants is going to be humongous eventually, and then someone's going to find this little chat thing here, and then something might lead to something else. Who knows?
Yes, everybody should say hello to the people who will see us on the big screen in a few years.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, but I have a question. Like I'm from Iran. Like most of the audience, we are like from Iran. They say that it's really hard to make a friend in Sweden. Like you say, like you had like a chit chat with this lady. Like, what's the secret? What's the tips, tricks to do that?
Well, I feel I have maybe a unique take on this, and I want to be careful because I shouldn't compare myself to what it's like to live in Iran, obviously. But I am from Sweden, so I am privileged in that. But I grew up in a very, very small little town, like basically like a hillbilly in a forest sort of situation. And if I wanted a job in a studio, I would have to move across country, which I did over like many years after. But in the beginning, to find like-minded individuals, I went online. And I mean, that was, I don't know how many years ago, man, too many years ago. But at that time, the forums was the thing that I was hanging out. That's how I met Dennis. And we had like these communities where we were talking to each other and like up and coming artists. And there would be like stuff like this where people in the industry would have chats live and stuff, and you can ask questions, and the chat can ask you questions. And I feel like when you're in this situation right now, like watching me, you can reach out to me like after this thing on like LinkedIn or Twitter. My Twitter is Koniworx. Like on the screen, my thing is there right there. So you can reach out to LinkedIn or on Twitter or whatever, and you like ask questions if you want. And I mean, over time, you're just gonna have to find people online that you can talk to and build your own communities and find what's out there in that way. It's not easy. I know it. I know it feels like hopeless sometimes, and I felt like that for a really long time starting out as well. I did go to school, and that was super helpful. But in the end of the day, I wouldn't have gotten into the school to begin with without like the connections I built online. Like my entire like beginnings that got me where I am is from online. Like I drew a lot and stuff, but I put it out online in different like small communities. And the people you get to know in these communities will over time grow and help you reach to other people that have more connections and stuff. But be genuine. Don't go into like don't reach out to like the CEO at Ubisoft or something and say, "Hey man, want to be friends?" Because that's gonna be weird. That's not genuine. Like, actually get to know people, like be in situations like you can. I'm sorry this became kind of a convoluted answer, but at the end of the day you just need to like get to know like-minded individuals around you that are close to you, either online or in real life, and let that over time grow into like something bigger. And then you reach out through your network, through people that you know that know someone else. You need to start really small. And I understand, like when you're from a place where you have no one around you in this industry, it feels like hopeless. But it's just like you need to get this snowball rolling. And over
True.
time, it's gonna pick up speed. It just sucks in the beginning, but it's gonna work out. You just need to be persistent. Be a better person tomorrow than you are today.
Very wise words.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for the answer. And I'm going to read one of the comments. So Sajjad, he's asking, I heard Blender has a feature called Grease Pencil for 2D character animating. Can you please name and introduce us more new features? Also, Unity environment to combine 2D and 3D is amazing. Like, introduce like features.
Yeah, I've heard about Grease Pencil. It's actually a feature in different. I think Maya also has Grease Pencil. I've seen people make 2D animations with Blender. Blender is actually very useful and reliable tool for 2D. I haven't done much of like combining 2D with 3D. I did a little like top-down Paper Mario inspired thing with a friend recently. I can't really get into like a big tutorial during this short interview, but I mean, only NG made a tutorial about animating in Blender, but it's very specific. I think you could probably find on just like YouTube if you look for Grease Pencil Blender. I mean, I would have to do like an entire workshop if we were gonna answer this question, but but I can tell you that it's a valuable thing to try, like using Grease Pencil and for animation. I don't know about real-time game work. Not sure about that, but you can definitely combine 2D with 3D.
Yeah. And can you like name like some websites or Discord servers that you use daily? Like, I bet like you have some kind of.
Well, the ones I use are pretty much just like groups of friends that I know personally. It's strange because now when I've been in the industry for a while, the communities kind of become real life because I live here now. When I started, like, keep in mind, I've been in the industry for so many years that when I started out, it wasn't the same thing. But it's the same principles still apply, but it's just like it's a different era. And I don't really take part in like these beginning things as much anymore because I'm not in the same situation. Well, I think in starting out, like, I don't know how large tech immigrants are yet, but you should start there, I feel like, and you could also start your own communities. Within, like, start a community and like announce it in a place that are like local to you, maybe, and start learning from each other, because that's like the best way to like initially start. And then over time, maybe you guys can post your works online, like on Twitter or ArtStation or whatever is like the active platform at the time, and maybe start like groups. I know that some people like to make like small like teams. I want to say like Newgrounds, for instance. You can post animations and web games and have in the credits box, you can actually put each user in there, like this person did coding, this person did art, and then you create like this little cluster where you make stuff together. That's the best way to start. Like, start like a little chat room with your buddies, whatever, and invite others that you like, and then start collaborating. Make really small games like a little puzzle game or something, and put it out, and clearly credit each other, so that people know where to find them, like maybe like email addresses or something in the description, and keep posting stuff together. That will also make you better game designers and better creators, and you will learn how to collaborate, because that's the most important thing in game development, is knowing how to communicate with each other in voice channels, talk to each other, create stuff together. That's a great place to start, I feel like. Itch.io is a good place also to post games.
I see. I think throughout this webinar you have mentioned and also emphasized a lot on like soft skill, like how to communicate, like network is not all about hard skill. Do you have any other like advices on soft skill? Like you mentioned some of them.
What do you mean with soft skill and hard skill?
Like hard skill is like drawing, like specific to your job, but soft skill, like how to communicate, how like to make friend in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a vital life vitalizes. And what I mean with that is, if you live a life that where you want to improve and become like a better person each day, and you put that out there to others, and you live by example. So if you say to your best friend, hey, I'm gonna draw every day, and then you do that, and then you can actually show for that you do that, and every day you do that, and maybe you start posting that online, like you start like a chat room with your friend, and then both of you start doing that, then you invite another person, and then over time that sort of discipline and attitude is gonna cultivate, and you're gonna start attracting other people that find that attractive in you.
True.
And that is what I found, and that is sort of my own mission, is because I'm from a place where it felt hopeless that I could even do this. I felt like it was so important to show that that's possible, and now when I have done that, I feel a responsibility to keep improving and keep creating stuff, and have this like vital life where I live this, and I do what I said. When I say I set out to do something, I want to actually do it. Even if I fail, it's fine, as long as I like show that I do what I say. That over time always grows and expands. And I really live by that sort of philosophy, where you can always make one step in your life that's going to improve yourself. Like if you sit at night in your bed or in the morning and you ask yourself, is there something in my life that I do wrong right now, that I know I do wrong, and if I don't do this thing, I know that my life would be better? Like what would that be? What is this thing that I avoid doing, that I know if I did this thing, I would be better off? And so like in the morning, like what can I do today to be a little bit better than I was yesterday? Like, can I draw like maybe like 5 minutes more today? Can I not use maybe I don't use Facebook so much if I have like an addiction to like scrolling Instagram feeds. Maybe I put away my phone today. Like do like each day, like do like one thing and become better, because you're not gonna be like a professional overnight. You're gonna be having to work this every single day, and the only way to get there is to do like small steps and be consistent. And by doing these things, you're gonna be attracting people that do the same, and that will lead to quality connections, quality people that want to do the same thing. Be honest, be kind, be generous, stuff like that, and that will eventually lead to good things, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the topics that Dennis wanted to ask you. Like, Dennis, do you have any extra questions, like about networking and?
Well, one thing that I think was a really valuable lesson was that if there's some group that you're lacking, or some group that doesn't exist, nothing stops you from yourself starting this group.
Yes.
So like say that you're an immigrant in Sweden and you don't have the group you want to belong to. You can start this group yourself and be the founding father of that group.
Yeah. And be like open to bring in people of all walks of life too, because you need perspective. Don't be feel like you need to constrain yourself to any one thing or any one person or any one whatever. Like if you feel like someone is like a genuine person that wants this similar things in life like you do, you should like talk to them and invite them to like share what they know. Because I've met people that do something completely different to what I'm doing, but they're like their values or whatever they're doing actually rubs off on me, and that makes me a better person and better artist. Like widens my horizons and stuff. And that's the thing, right? Like when you're from a place where there's not a big community, it feels pretty hopeless because you don't know where to turn. And that's usually when you start something yourself. You could end up being the person that creates the thing that everyone wants to join. You ever thought of that? I know I one thing I love to use as a metaphor, like a comparison. Back in the day when I was a kid and people were skateboarding, right? There was this guy named Tony Hawk, right? And he did this trick that called what was it, like a 900, 9,000, whatever. It was like basically you jump up and you spin around like a bunch of times and then you land it. And it's like nowadays people look at that and like, well, that's whatever. Like kids do that move nowadays. But the point is, back then no one did it. Wow. But once he did it once, people wanted to do it too, right? And there needs to be one guy or girl or whatever do that one thing, and that will eventually bring people into that thing, and then they want to do it too. So you could be that person, start a community, start a thing, and then like invite people and be like and that's also really like scary, right? To be that person, because then you're putting yourself in this like responsibility. You need to show up every single day and do this. One thing I did back in the day, and I don't know, Dennis, if you remember this or if you were part of it. I started a live stream because I was following a guy called Dave Raposa. He had a thing called Creams and Daggers. I know Dennis was in that, but I started my own stream too. And I did like streams like every morning for like 2 years. I got up at 6 and I did like study for like an hour or two. And I did that every single day. And I only had like 10 people watching at maximum. But the thing was, like, if I didn't show up, they would message me and they would say, like, Conny, why you're not up? Why you're not studying today? And the thing is, like, those 10 people is what pushes you forward. They're the guys and girls that makes you who you are in the end. And having that, starting that thing pushes me to be a better person. You see how this is coming together? Like, you just live that life that you like. If you want to be a person, like imagine what that person does to be that successful and start doing those things. You're not going to do all the things at once, but you have to be like a step better, a step closer to that image of you that you want to be tomorrow, and like take one step further.
True.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't even need 10 people. Like it's enough with a friend or your partner or one of your parents.
Actually, the story of Tech Immigrant is exactly like that. So the founder mother was Tahar. She wanted to have like this community to help each other to get a job outside Iran. So that now I have like 10 members. Now it's like we're like 16,000 members on Telegram. Yeah.
You see, needs to start with one person. Usually that's the case.
Yeah.
And it sounds when you start talking about these goals you have to people, there are gonna be people that tells you that you're crazy, that you need to get real, that you need to get a real job. You think my parents were thrilled about me doing artwork when everything they were doing, like welding pipes and stuff like that, right? they were like, you can't do that here. That's impossible. You're gonna live in a big city. Do you know how far away that is? Like that, it's not gonna happen. But I have to do it. And if I get to toot one horn by myself, a lot of people from back home look up to that, and they're excited that someone that comes from that space actually goes out and do something semi-impressive, at least, that actually does what they're saying and set out to do. So you get to inspire a lot of people too, and motivate others to be better by being better yourself. True. Honestly, you make the world a better place by being a better person, because we're all like we're like sticky. Like when you touch a person, you stick a little bit to them, and you leave a little piece of yourself with people you like meet, and that will like they will have a little bit piece of you with them when they walk around in the world, and that will affect them and how they act in the world. So if you're like a positive force for good things, and you're like respectful, disciplined, you do what you say, and you're honest, and over time you make things better. People remember that too.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for this insight. It was really revolutionary for me.
I think it's a really good lesson. You know, you do something good today, even 10 years later, it inspires people.
Yeah, exactly.
So shout out Dave Raposa and shout out Tony Hawk. I know you both probably watch it.
Yeah, my best friend Tony Hawk.
Yeah, and we have 4 minutes left, and I want to read one of the comments. So Paymon is asking, I just joined, so not sure if you already talked about this, but can you guide us about picking hardware for Blender or Unreal Engine, generally CPU and GPU?
Oh, that is very tricky for me to answer. Usually when I go out to buy a computer, I buy something that's like middle range or something, and it's like, I asked the guy, hey, will this run a 3D software or not? He says yes. I said, okay, good. If not, then I buy something else. I don't know, man. I'm not very good with that. I actually just ask my friends, like, what do you have? Like, and if they say it's good, it's not laggy for them, I'm like, well, then I get the same thing, I guess. I think the insight I can give you there is like, worry less about like the hardware. Like if you get something like middle range or something, it's more about like the quality of the work that you're doing. It's not like you can't compare your own work to like a studio, like in rendering and stuff. Like if you want to work at DICE, you're not gonna be rendering the entire like map on one computer. Usually when I was working at Sharkmo, we had like this system where it renders stuff on like the entire company's computers. Like every single computer renders the game. You're not going to do that at home. Just get good at making cool stuff. It doesn't have to be rendered really well, you know? But yeah, that's sort of like my answer. I'm an artist, dude. I don't know. I try to make cool stuff and then buy hardware that doesn't feel like it probably will suck. I don't know.
I think people should keep in mind. People should keep in mind that people were producing stuff 20, 50 years ago on computers that were laughably bad by today's standards. So it's not just about the hardware.
Yeah,
it's about the creative skill and like the creative work you do.
Yeah. Thank you. And we got 2 minutes left. Dennis, if you have any other questions.
Yes. So we have 2 minutes left, and I would like to ask you: is there any final words or valuable insights that you would like to share with the audience?
No, not really. I think I feel like I've already said this, and I'm gonna say it again because I feel it's like the pinnacle, the grain. Like if you take away anything from what I've said today, it's like the whole thing about like being better tomorrow. Because you can't build an entire house in one day. You need to lay like a couple of bricks a day. You know, that's all you can do. And you can only grow that exponentially over time by doing something every single day, and be a little bit better tomorrow. And ask yourself honestly when you go to bed, what can I do tomorrow to be a little bit better? And try to strive for that. That's good enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So that's about it. So thank you so much, Mr. Conny Nordlund. It's been a true blast and a real pleasure. And we would really love to have you back at some point in the future for a follow-up webinar if you're up for it, because this was really valuable, really insightful, and I'm really grateful that you joined us today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And everyone, if you want to connect with Conny, please send a request to Conny on LinkedIn. Yes, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah. See you
Have a
around.
good one.